So today I'm going to be showing you how I maintenance my airbrush gun, so if you are interested, please keep watching.
Okay, let's start off with what you need. So here you need your airbrush gun, of course, and then you need your airbrush cleaning solution, and you'll need bottled water. Make sure that you use bottled water and not tap water, because tap water will have like minerals and things that can clog your gun. A cleaning jar, but if you don't have a cleaning jar, a washcloth will do fine. Vaseline. Now you don't have to necessarily use Vaseline, just put any petroleum jelly will work. Q-tips. A little cleaning brush. Now you don't need a cleaning brush, the Q-tips will suffice if you don't have one. I just like to use one. Tweezers. Now tweezers are for some of the small items that you're going to see in your airbrush gun when we take it apart. And a tissue. Let's get started. Okay, so before I begin the tutorial, I'm going to go ahead and show you how to take apart your gun. So first you want to remove the handle, and then you want to go ahead and remove the chucking nut, which is that little gold nut that's holding the needle in place here. And then the next thing you want to remove is the needle. Now be careful when removing the needle because you don't want to damage it, of course. And then the next thing you want to remove, it just is a twist off item, and that's just the spring cover. It covers the area where the spring is located. Now it takes a while to remove, but just keep twisting and you'll be able to remove it, of course. And there's the spring. So you just want to go ahead and remove the spring. And then go ahead and take out the spring holder, which is that rod sticking out there. Okay, and now we're going to go ahead and disassemble the front. So there's two caps in the front. One of them is a needle cap and the other one is the nozzle cap. So the first thing I removed was the needle cap, and now here I'm removing the nozzle cap. And then I'm going to go ahead and remove the lever. And inside there you'll notice another smaller piece, which is what the tweezers are for, and that is just the lever scoop. And this is just a little part that provides resistance when you're pulling your lever back and forth. That way it's not flopping around in there. And there you go, completely disassembled airbrush gun. So now that you know how to take apart your airbrush gun and you know the little pieces, let's get on to the actual maintaining of the airbrush gun. So first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and remove the needle cap and then the nozzle cap. Now be careful when you're doing this part. I probably recommend to do it later just because you don't want to damage the needle. Because I didn't do it that way, you see I'm removing the needle after removing the caps, but try removing the caps after you remove the needle, just to be safe so that you don't destroy your needle or damage it in any way. So here's a good starting point for cleaning the cup and inside the nozzle, because there's not a brush that can get inside the nozzle, so this is what I'm going to do to clean it out. I'm just going to add a few drops of my cleaning solution mixed with a few drops of water. And then I'm going to go ahead and take a Q-tip and just kind of mix that around, as well as cleaning the bottom of the cup. Now since the needle's in there, there's nothing to block me getting really inside the full cup and cleaning even the entrance of, or the airway where the air goes through to get to the needle. And then I'm just going to go ahead and pull the lever back and just run this water in a line on some tissue. The tissue helps absorb the water, and what this does is just make sure that there's no buildup of any makeup inside the nozzle where the needle sits. Okay, and once that is done, I'm going to go ahead and disassemble my airbrush gun. So I did learn the majority of the maintenance techniques from actually watching Dinair's maintenance videos. So if this is the brand that you use and this is the gun that you have, I really do recommend going to their YouTube channel or their website, which is airbrushmakeup.com, and checking out their videos and tutorials on how to maintain your airbrush gun, just in case there's something that I miss or I don't cover. It's better to just go to the experts for it. So here my gun is completely disassembled once again. So I'm just going to go ahead and clean out the cup again. And that's just with the wet Q-tip that I used to clean it out before. Just the same one, I'm just going over it again. And then now I'm taking my little brush, which is a nice little brush to have. This one I just got from like Babies R Us. I believe it's one of the Dr. Brown's brushes that come with the bottles, but they sell it separately. And I just applied a little bit of my cleaning solution, and I'm just cleaning that entrance toward the nozzle through the cup, just to make sure that there's no buildup around that ring in there. Alright, and now that it's all nice and sudsy in there, I know I got a really good clean. So I'm just going to go ahead and take the needle, and I'm going to go ahead and use that same Q-tip that has that mixture of water and cleaner in it that I've been using to clean the cup, and I'm just going to run that up and down the needle just to get any buildup that might have been building up on the needle from inside the cup. And then I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing on the tip. Now be very careful with your needle. You don't want to damage it, so just be gentle when you're doing this part, because for one, it's really sharp. You don't want to poke yourself, and for two, you don't want like any damage to come to it. You don't want fibers to get stuck on the needle or anything like that. So just take your time with this step. And then also make sure to go over it with your fingers too. That helps to make sure that you don't get any fibers on there. And then I'm just going to go ahead and clean the caps, excuse me. And this is just a nozzle cap right here. I think this is the needle cap actually. Yes, it is the needle cap. So I'm just going to go ahead and clean that inside and out. And then I'm going to go ahead and clean the nozzle cap. Now the next items that I'm going to go ahead and start to wipe down with my Q-tip and cleaner are just the parts that came from the interior of the airbrush gun. So I'm just going to go ahead and take the first piece, which is just the spring holder, and I'm just going to go ahead and wipe that down. As you can see on the Q-tip, there's just a lot of dirt and buildup that was coating these parts, so you really want to go ahead and wipe them down. Eventually I will need another Q-tip. What you just want to do is go ahead and add a little bit of water or cleaning solution would be better to the Q-tip, and then go ahead and continue wiping everything down. Don't forget to make sure that there are no fibers left on the actual pieces, because you don't want them to stay on there when you put the gun back together, because that can cause your gun to malfunction or get clogged or anything like that, and you don't want that. So just make sure that you're really watching the pieces carefully as you're cleaning them. Okay, so because this next minute is just me cleaning the little parts, of course, just go ahead and fast forward through this part if you're not interested in it. Unfortunately, I cannot get rid of this part just because there might be some people out there who want to actually see all the little pieces being cleaned. Yes, believe it or not, there's some people who actually pay a lot of attention to the details in it. So just go ahead, and if you're not one of those people, just go ahead and fast forward through this. Like I said, it's about a minute long. When you see the Vaseline, that's where you know to start again. Now I'm going to go ahead and clean the lever. You know, I really never noticed that airbrush makeup gets underneath the lever like that. To tell you the truth, I have no idea how it gets under the lever like that, but if you have makeup under there, just make sure you go ahead and clean all around the lever, because of course that's the part that you're touching every day that you use the airbrush makeup. So you just want to make sure it's all clean, and then don't forget the bottom, just to wipe off any excess buildup that's underneath there with the Q-tip as well. Okay, now it's time to take some of that petroleum jelly, and here I'm just using Vaseline, and I'm just gonna go ahead and spread that on my fingers as well as my thumb, and just go ahead and lubricate all these pieces again. The pieces, not all of them need to be lubricated, so you're just gonna lubricate the lever, the spring, the spring holder. You want to make sure that's lubricated as well. You want to lubricate the lever scoop also, and I believe those are the only things that you want to keep lubricated, unless you want to go ahead and lubricate the little piece that is like the housing for the spring. You want to lubricate at least the threads on that also, just to make sure everything glides smoothly there. So that's all I'm going to be doing here, is just lubricating all those pieces. I know this seems like a very tedious process, and that's because simply it is a tedious process, but in order to keep your airbrush gun running at optimal level is just to go ahead and take really good care of it, and maintaining it is part of taking really good care of it. So typically on average, I'd say I do this about every 6 months. You'll notice when the lever starts to there's a weird feeling instead of being smooth when you pull it back, and that's usually a sign that it's probably time to go ahead and maintenance your airbrush gun. Or if you notice that it's not spraying as well as it used to or anything like that. Trust me, after you do this, you're really going to notice a difference between before and after you maintenance it. Okay, so once everything's all lubricated up, you just want to go ahead and put your gun back together. So the first thing I'm going to put in is the last thing I took out, which was the lever. And I'm just going to go ahead and show you there is a little hole in there, so you just have to get the bottom part of the lever into that little hole, and you'll know when it's securely in there. It might take a couple of tries, but once you get it in there, you'll know, and you'll know that it's all secure as well. Then the next thing you want to do is take your tweezers and go ahead and pick up the lever scoop, and you want to grab it by the like the thinner end, and you want to make sure that you put it in the same direction that you see me doing here, because that's how it's going to case the lever. So you just want to go ahead and lean it again. This too might take a couple of tries, but you'll get it. Just keep on trying to get it in there. Then you just want to take the spring holder and go ahead and put that in as well. You want to make sure the part that is almost like a bridge opening is on the bottom, because that's how it slides in easy. Then you just want to go ahead and put the spring back on, and then the spring housing back on, and go ahead and screw that in all the way. Now after you screw that in all of the way, you'll notice that putting that housing on gives the resistance back to when you pull the lever. So you just want to go ahead and test that out to make sure everything is right and in sorts. Okay, and it is correct, so we're good. And then the next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and put the needle back in. Now be careful when you're putting the needle back in. You really do not want to damage your needle, so please take your time and be gentle with your needle. And then you just want to push it through and make sure that there's no more room for it to be pushed in any further. Then you want to take the locking nut and just go ahead and put it on the end and screw that on tight. Then of course you want to take the handle and go ahead and screw that on as well. And then the final step here is just to go ahead and take the caps, and starting with the nozzle cap or the needle cap, you're just going to go ahead, I think it's the nozzle cap, excuse me, you're just going to go ahead and screw that on, and then you're going to take the needle cap and go ahead and screw that on. Okay, so once you get everything put on, this is pretty much the end of cleaning the interior portion of the airbrush gun. Now we want to work on the exterior. This is just optional. This is just something I like to do to keep my gun looking nice and shiny. And I'll just go ahead and take the Q-tip that has some of the cleaner and go ahead and wipe everything again just one more time to make sure that there is nothing left inside the cup as well as around my airbrush gun at all. And then I'm going to go ahead and add just a few drops of cleaner and then a couple of drops of water. And then I'm just going to go ahead and take a clean Q-tip and go ahead and mix up the cleaning solution and water in the cup. And then I'm going to go ahead and turn my compressor up to about 12 o'clock and take my tissue to cover the nozzle. And then I'm just going to back bubble to mix that cleaner just a little bit more. And then go ahead and wipe it a little bit more with the Q-tip just to make sure. This is like the double checking to make sure I didn't miss anything and there's no buildup or anything in there. And then I'm just going to go ahead and spray it out into my cleaning jar. Now if you don't have a cleaning jar, go ahead and spray it out just on a tissue, but I really recommend to get a cleaning jar because they sure do come in handy, and it just keeps everything nice and sanitary. Because you don't want like a damp towel with you when you're traveling, and sometimes you don't have a towel or a thick paper towel and you don't want to use up all your tissues, so the cleaning jar really helps you out on that. So here I'm just going to go ahead and continue to pull the lever back, adding little bits of water to make sure that I am able to push anything else that may be left in the nozzle or in the cup just out through the front and out of my airbrush gun. When I'm airbrushing, this is a method that I like to use. I'll also go ahead and take a Q-tip that's a little bit damp with cleaner, and I'll go ahead and wipe the nozzle as well as wipe the needle when going from a shimmer to a matte or a lighter to a darker color.
That that is how I maintain my airbrush gun. Thank you so much for watching, and please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.